Hey, good morning, everybody. Jeff Slakey and Spencer Hughes here on the Daybreak Show. Time for the Sheriff Sit Down, presented by our great friends at Our Community Credit Union. Mason County Sheriff Casey Salisbury and Chief Deputy Investigations Jason Dracobly here today. Good morning, guys.
Morning. Good morning.
Good to talk with you. Jason, you're here today to kind of update us on the reports of that the homicide, and then there was a couple of folks that law enforcement was looking for. Yesterday we reported they were found down in Humboldt County, California.
Yeah.
I know this is an active investigation, but give us a little bit of the background of this and how you got to that arrest down there.
Well, we got a call of a body found up on the 24 road near Highway 119. I believe that was on October 2nd, and from that point we started our investigation. We'd had a few folks tell us about a suspicious U-Haul vehicle that was in the area the day before, and one thing led to another. We're starting to be able to put the pieces of the puzzle together, and we ended up identifying two suspects out of this, and we had the assistance of the State Patrol and the FBI, and of course you saw the press release that we put out on the two wanted suspects, and we developed more information on that, and we were able to get down to Humboldt, California with information down to them. And between the California Highway Patrol and Humboldt County Sheriff's Office, we were able to take two folks into custody on two separate incidences down there.
Talk to me a little bit about the lead up to this. You mentioned suspicious U-Haul, and I know the Forest Service roads are traditionally not heavily utilized, so I'd imagine that when traffic comes about on those, the folks living in those areas, they keep their eyes open a little bit.
Yeah, they do. We've had a couple of folks that had contacted us early on in this and said, hey, there's some U-Haul vehicles that had been driving around in here, and we thought that was kind of odd. And that, of course, kind of keyed us in. The other thing that keyed us in was that the day before, we'd impounded one of those vehicles, and we had no idea it was related to the homicide. So we knew where that vehicle was at, and we were able to re-secure that vehicle as evidence and start our process.
And then when it comes to the identifying of those suspects, and I know you don't want to give away methods and practices and things like this, but how were you able to determine those two individuals as possible suspects?
Well, like I said before, I really want to protect the case, and I can't give out too much on that, not because I'm trying to hide anything. It's just they have a due process right, and I have to make sure that I don't violate that.
Okay.
So.
And then when it comes to, and Casey will bring you into this as well, you have great partnerships throughout Washington State, I know, but then when it crosses state lines and it comes to these things, social media in this aspect probably helped with shares, I mean, maybe down there, and then your contacts with the Humboldt County Sheriff.
Well, we work with all different agencies depending on the cases. We actually have some detectives that are deputized by the U.S. Marshal Service. I don't know if they were used for this. We have very close ties with the Bureau, with the FBI, and contacts in our region and for different investigative tools that they may have that we don't. And everybody, I think on this one, Jason can maybe discuss the different things, but everybody kind of comes together with their part of it to put a case together. Oftentimes other agencies will contact us, or a federal agency may contact us for something going on in our area that we may have some knowledge of that we share with them, or have some things that we can work with them.
And then when it comes to those folks down there, oftentimes you'll be requested to look for any information. People may go anywhere. Now, when it comes, is it extradition that happens next, or how did the folks get from California back here to Mason County?
Well, I don't know
So
where we're at in that right now.
There's two active arrest warrants for those two suspects right now. And they're arrested down there. They'll be heard down there in their courts for the initial sets of hearings, and then there'll be an extradition hearing set up for them. They can waive it or they can argue it. If they argue it, then there'll be a process that you'd have to get specific with the prosecutor on it, but a governor's warrant has to be issued. It takes some time, and then they're transferred back up through what's called the local chain. If they waive it, then they come up on the local chain, and we go from there.
And then back to kind of the beginnings of this, when you received calls and some suspicious vehicles up there. Talk to me a little bit about more what the Sheriff's Office is recommending for folks when they see something to say something. Is that still kind of a common
Well, if
practice?
there's something suspicious that you know, I mean, I don't know who called on this, but that's kind of how everybody, somebody sees something and reports it, or there's some information out there that we might be looking for that they may have an idea on. You mentioned a few minutes ago, that sometimes there's pieces of information or requests that we put out internet-wise. There are times we'll put out a piece of information that we might be looking for, a few years ago, a different case, on a certain type of vehicle, you know, and you put it out, and somebody says, well, I saw that vehicle the other day out in this area, and it starts to narrow down pretty quickly. Sometimes that public help can be very necessary and very useful. I think on these cases, what I like, and it's been a long time since I've done investigations. I worked with a great, Dave Haller, a great investigator, the more senior guy to me when I started. Dave used to always tell me, with that very first piece of information, when it's at the crime scene or what it is, Dave used to always tell me it's a piece of a puzzle. You know, you always kind of look for that corner piece first, and you start putting things together. And as you get one piece, you somewhat can tell what the other shape of the other one needs to be or where you need to go. And by the time you finish that puzzle, you might have all but one piece left. And sometimes that piece of information that you might have seen something, might be the piece that we're looking for. We might need to find a vehicle in a certain area, and you might be, well, I saw that vehicle parked there in this area, and then we go back and we'll look at a camera or something, and there it is. And it starts off with one piece, like Jason said, and I don't know all the steps that they took this time or where it took them, but it starts off like a puzzle, and it's one piece at a time. And as you start to put the puzzle together, it gets a little easier because you can see how the picture's starting to develop. And that's what I think of as a case when you're working that in the detective division. And sometimes different people have different pieces, or they see something differently, they can put it in there for you. And then pretty soon, by the time you're done with the investigation, you have a clear picture of what happened.
An important case to let the public know about, and further goings-ons down now in Humboldt County. Amazing to think about that. Mason County Sheriff Casey Salisbury, Chief Deputy of Investigations Jason Dracobly here during the Sheriff's Sit-Down presented by our Community Credit Union. Thanks for the update on this, guys, and the information there. And of course, whenever more information comes out about anything, really, come on in.
Thanks for having us.